Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do another entry here. This one yet again based on one of your newer suggestions. This one having to do with a fascinating cryptid that's found in certain parts of Japan. But what I found actually to be the most fascinating thing at all is how this cryptid actually ties in today to certain beliefs associated with COVID-19. I know that's a subject that's pretty sensitive when it comes to certain parts of the US and then other parts of the world, so I'm not going to cover it too much, but you'll see here in a minute exactly why people are actually clamoring for this cryptid to help them today when it comes to COVID-19. It just goes to show how amazing certain parts of the world are when it comes to their beliefs and how some of those actually tie into cryptids. I mean, I've talked about some of those in the past, how cryptids are tied in on a more cultural level, but here this is a real life example of what's happening today. So great stuff to be able to share with everyone here. In fact, you're looking at a drawing or a picture of it now. It goes by a very unique name. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but it's Amabie. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating information associated with this long encountered creature, and again how it ties into today's COVID-19 situation. So here's how the story goes. This was a creature that was found apparently just once back in 1846, around May or so to be specific, and then it's been spotted periodically throughout other parts of Japan up until today. I guess it's a lot rarer today to see this creature, but otherwise, when it was originally spotted, it definitely went on its own viral stance. Another example of it matching almost like what's happening today. But this was encountered again in May 1846 in an area that back then was called Hygo Province. Again, I hope I'm saying that correctly as well, but otherwise today it's known as Kumamoto Prefecture. So this is a location where there was a body of water that was there, and as someone was wandering around that location, in fact, this was I guess it was like near a town to be specific, the town official on a nightly basis saw what he described as a glowing object somewhere in the distance associated with that body of water. And so when he finally went to go investigate, that's when this creature, either the body of, let's say, the creature itself or this glowing thing, went straight towards him, and then that's when it was able to present him. So you're looking at, in fact, again, a representation of it, but here's essentially how he described it. The story goes that once he saw what this creature looked like, he actually put it in some kind of engraved manuscript, and that's essentially how people see it to this day. But the way he described it was a creature that was glowing green. It had these fishy scales associated with it. It had this very, very long hair as well, and then its legs could be considered actually fin-like, and then it also had a very unique beak on its mouth itself. I couldn't quite tell how large this creature was. If I had to presume, it was probably more along the size of a man, as opposed to, let's say, something gigantic or something really, really small. But it was arriving with that glowing light, or it was emanating the light itself, and then that's when it presented itself again to that townsman. And so this official was essentially, wondering what's going on, what's happening, and then when this Amabie addressed him, he told him in a very specific manner that it was there to deliver a prophecy. And then here's exactly how the prophecy goes. Good harvest will continue for 6 years from the current year. If disease spreads, draw a picture of me and show the picture of me to those who fall ill, and they will be cured. Did that just ring a bell when it came to COVID-19? Again, more on that here in a minute, but you can see why, as a preview, why that's kind of taken off today on a more viral stance. But once it prayed this prophecy, then this Amabie essentially returned back to the sea. And then it's been seen several other times, but again, much rarer. Like you would have to look at probably less than a handful of times. So much so, in fact, that there's been other variations of this Amabie as well. For example, there's been a torso-less version that was encountered, I think, the following time period. I think about the next year or so. And so almost the same as far as this the way it looked now, but it was nothing in terms of a torso. So eliminate the torso, and that's essentially the version you had here. And then in a more unique version, you had an ape-like version as well. So it was more I guess you could call it walking upright, but with stronger legs or stronger arms, more like a quadruped at certain points. And then that's where this creature was encountered. I think it was in 1876, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's another version of it. And then yet another version is something that's called an Ari, and apparently this was also dated in 1876, but this could be considered more on the lines of a hoax or some kind of fabrication as well. And then yet there's another version tied to this creature known as the Amabie no Mikoto, and this one looked more doll-like, and in fact it had 4 legs as well. And then this creature also was encountered sometime around 1875. So as you can see, all those specific versions apparently are all tied to this creature, and it all calls back to that one encounter, that magical encounter that occurred there in May of 1846. And then as far as how are things tied today when it comes to COVID-19, and I'll include the link for the article below. This was something that I was reading from BBC, but it states that somewhere along the way earlier this year, either around April or May to be specific, all of a sudden under Google Trends and then other type of trends, there was almost like a hashtag that was growing about this creature. Somebody must have rediscovered this creature after like 140 plus years of this idea of this Amabie just basically being around and then being gone, and nobody really talked about it. All of a sudden somebody rediscovered it, realized that specific line that I was mentioning earlier, the one about the idea that all you have to do is draw a picture of me, show this picture of me to those who fall ill, and that's if again disease is spreading somewhere and they in turn will be cured. Well, guess what? Once COVID-19 started spreading to certain parts of Asia and then other parts of Japan, then that's where this became a trend. In fact, the hashtag Amabie Challenge actually started appearing, and it started going on Twitter, it started going on Instagram, and then lo and behold, people started to see it and then share it with others and then start making drawings of it. They're truly believing, hoping, the idea that if they draw this creature in some way, whether it's a painting or whether it's a drawing or an ink or anything like that, and just share it online, and in some cases even things involving face masks and other hand sanitizers, then this creature, when it appeared again in the 1800s, it'll follow its mantra, whatever again it was telling that town official from before, that it will cure disease. That's the hope that people are having here associated with it. In fact, there was one illustrator who talked about it. He says, I travel all over the country with my goods, and then I pray to Amabie for the disease to go away. So this is truly a belief associated with it, and it goes into other things as well. Apparently balloons are being made of Amabie. There's sushi as well that's considered another token or some other type of dedication to Amabie. And then also pets, if you can believe it, they're being dressed as this particular creature too. When I was reading all of this, I just found it to be so amazing, the idea again that there could be a cryptid that, you know, all those decades back, in this case all the way towards the 1800s, one single line could still hearken today, to this point today, and people are using it for this particular situation. So here you have a creature, a cryptid that truly goes beyond anything I've talked about in the past. I mean, I've mentioned some other cryptids, how they get tied into like certain marketing purposes. Like there was that recent one involving that werewolf that was tied into a car. Or I've talked about another cryptid in the past, how it was tied into a theater, like a production, and then also was linked to selling of a soda. There was even a drawing of this cryptid and the way he was holding a bottle of soda. That was essentially the selling point. And if you go into the more broader aspect, I mean, obviously you have like Sasquatch, and there's that, I forget what that food was called, Slim Jims or something like that, and it shows Sasquatch trying to eat that. And then there's, of course, the movies associated with him as well. All of that, though, this takes it to a whole other level when it comes to COVID-19 and when it comes to this creature and the hope that people have that it'll help drive away everything related to this disease. So very, very fascinating when I was reading this information, and that I'll be able to, again, talk about it and share it with you here. That's why I love doing these particular videos. If you wanted to find this creature and where it's located, you might have to go towards that sea shape that I was mentioning earlier. Apparently, it's also believed to be in certain mountains, haunting those locations. That brings up one last point, too. There's another aspect about this creature. It could actually be considered more along the lines of a deity or some other type of supernatural creature. Like, let's say, not cryptid related, but more along the lines of that kind of stuff. So that's a whole other aspect. I didn't saw some information on it, but again, I wanted to just report it more on the lines of a cryptid side. And then that way, there's still at least that other point to mention as well. But the information is out there if you want to take a look, and then you'll be able to see that type of stuff too. But if anyone has any information, anything else I might have missed about this amazing creature, this Amabie, and again, the legends associated with it, appearing in 1846, given that premonition or given that prophecy, and then how it's addressed today, to this very day, when it comes to COVID-19 and taking things over on the social media side in certain parts of the world. Very, very fascinating stuff. So again, any information someone has, maybe somebody that's there in Japan and has seen those particular things, maybe seen the pet stuff or seen the sushi or seen the face masks, please let me know. Post those comments below, and then that way you'll be able to share your personal experience too. So all right, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.